Hi everybody, this is Judy at Judy in the Kitchen. Today we're talking about soft onions, okay? Soft onions are more delicate than the storage onions that we talked about in an earlier video. We should keep them unwashed in the refrigerator to extend the shelf life. And you want to store them in a perforated bag or wrapped up in paper towels in a plastic bag in the crisper drawer of the refrigerator. Try to use them as quickly as you can, usually within 4 to 5 days of when you bring them home. Examples of soft onions include sweet onions, and I have one here. It looks like a yellow onion. That's a sweet onion. Green onions, also known as scallions. And then there's spring onions that look like a scallion with a fat end on the bottom of it, but it's just basically a young onion. Spring onions. Okay, now we'll talk about those individually here. The sweet onions, again, looks like this. They're usually about medium to large in size, and with that papery skin, they look very much like yellow onions, but they have less sulfur in them and more water than yellow or red or even the white onions. And because of that, they're milder in flavor, they're crisper than the storage onions, and they're usually named for the region in which they were grown. Like Washington has a Walla Walla onion. Georgia, where I used to live, has Vidalia onions that are, oh, you could just eat them like an apple. And Hawaii has Maui onions. And these onions are usually available only seasonally, and they can be substituted for yellow onions in just about any recipe. The flavor of the sweet onions is mild, okay? It's more mild than the yellow onions, and again, it has a crisp, tender texture to it. And they're sweet without that sharp tanginess that you might get from an onion, or pungent flavor, however you want to call it, from an onion. Regarding the best uses, sweet onions can be used in both raw and cooked applications. They're great when they're eaten raw in salads or sandwiches. They can be fried into onion rings or stuffed like you would a mushroom or a tomato. They're excellent onions for caramelizing, and they can be used in dishes where onions are a main flavor characteristic of the food, like onion soup. Sweet onions are also excellent when they're roasted, and especially with other vegetables. They can be blended into salad dressings and dips and pesto, and they can be roasted along with meats. They pair well with basil, mint, cilantro, rosemary, fennel, garlic, chives, tomatoes, citrus fruits, avocados, apples, ginger, meats, seafood, legumes, pasta, cheese, cinnamon, and even cloves. Now, regarding green onions, which we have here, I typically call this a scallion. That's another way to term this, another way to call that. Green onion can be called a scallion. It can be called a bunching onion, and sometimes they're called spring onions, but they're actually green onions and scallions, bunching onions, but not actually spring onions. They're usually small to medium in size, and they're grown in clusters with long, straight leaves, narrow, slender bases, like you see right here. The dark green leaves are smooth and stiff and hollow with central tubes on them, and the white base is more dense and succulent, more oniony flavor, and it's more firm. Some people cut off and discard the bottom end of the green onions. No, they're perfectly edible, and they have a wonderful, mild, oniony flavor to them. And so when I use them and cut them up in a salad or something, I use the whole thing. I cut the root end off of it, just above the roots, and then cut up the entire rest of it, and it has a delicious flavor to it. Regarding the best uses for your scallions, green onions or scallions are excellent, both raw and in cooking applications. They're delicious when they're served raw. You can sprinkle them on a green salad, which I do quite a bit. You can use them as a garnish. in soups and chili, or even chili cheese fries. And they're often used in Asian or Latin American cooking. They're excellent when a recipe calls for any type of a raw onion. The scallions are wonderful in there. You can add them to stir fries, you can saute them, roast them, and add them to grilled dishes as well. You can add them to pizza, pasta, casseroles, stews, and curries. You can mince them into deviled eggs, add them to savory pancakes, salsa, biscuits, and sandwiches. They pair well with sweet peas, Swiss chard, collard greens, broccoli, snow peas, carrots, radishes, bell peppers, citrus fruits, eggs, meats, and seafoods. Generally speaking, they'll keep for about 5 days when you wrap them up in a paper towel and put that in a plastic bag and tuck it away in the crisper drawer of your refrigerator. Next, we have spring onions. These are nothing more than very young storage onions. That's all they are. They have small round globes attached to straight, layered stalks of overlapping leaves, as you can see there. The bulbs are smooth and firm and crisp, and they can be anywhere from white to having red hues, depending upon the variety of onion that it is. And the dark leaves there have a stiff and thick and crunchy consistency to them. They're usually harvested early to give the other nearby bulbs room to grow. So they're really true to their name. They are harvested early in the spring. Now, regarding their flavor, they have a sweet and mild, mellow onion flavor, and that's because they haven't yet fully developed all the compounds that would, the sulfur compounds and so forth, that would be found in the fully developed onion. But the leaves do have a stronger flavor, and they're pungent with some grassy notes in there. Best uses for spring onions: they have a fresh, sweet, and subtle flavor, so they're great in both raw and cooked applications. Both the leaves and the bulb are edible, and the leaves do have usually a stronger flavor, onion flavor, than the bulbs do. So you can take the onions and thinly slice them and add them to salads or sandwiches, grain bowls, and also variety of slaws as well. They can be added to soft cheeses, dips, and spreads on appetizer trays. And spring onions are great when they're grilled, roasted, simmered, sauteed, or even braised. They can be a wonderful addition to soups and stews. You can add them to casseroles that you're going to be baking, and they can be used as a pizza topping. Add them to stir fries, add them to cream-based soups, vinaigrette dressings, and even egg dishes. Spring onions pair well with asparagus, sweet peas, lettuce, mushrooms, radishes, citrus fruits, potatoes, and meats. I do hope this helps you out. This is Judy at Judy in the Kitchen. Bye for now.